Early 2000s Sedin twins, possibly too slow and too weak for the NHL, until the right line mate came along and helped facilitate a breakout season. Henrik and Daniel Sedin, one of hockey's most amazing stories. Two identical twins, both worthy of high draft picks, by the same team thanks to some maneuvering by GM Brian Burke. One, a brilliant playmaker, and the other, a lethal sniper. A perfect match both genetically and professionally. Hall of Famers to both only play for one franchise their entire careers and their jerseys retired side by side. Really, it's Hollywood script type of stuff. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, the story had some Canuck executives and fans wondering if this script was headed for a disastrous ending. You have to go back to before the Sedins were really the Sedins. Selected in the 1999 draft and debuting in their age 20 seasons, the Twins struggled their first 3 years in the league, both averaging under 36 points a game and failing to really produce the secondary scoring the franchise had hoped for, behind their high-powered top line, the West Coast Express. With the amount invested in ensuring Henrik and Daniel came together to Vancouver, and the hype surrounding it, local media definitely had their worries after the Sedins' mediocre offensive performance. Non-stop questions of their foot speed, strength, and toughness led to them being crudely referred to as the Sisters, as patience was wearing thin for the highly touted duo. They even occasionally got booed on home ice. Patience was also wearing thin for head coach Mark Crawford, who often relegated the Sedins to third-line minutes with line mates such as Trent Klatt and Jason King. Shout out to the tremendously nicknamed Mattress line, featuring two twins and a king. In the 2003-2004 season, the Twins showed improvement, although still short of expectations, scoring 54 and 42 points, despite limited ice time. However, the opportunity to build on their performance was halted by a lockout, costing the NHL an entire season. While progress was halted in North America, the Sedins continued their development at home, playing the entire season for Modo. Sweden gave the Twins an opportunity to sharpen their skills without pressure, and as the NHL resumed play, Canucks general manager Dave Nonis gave them a new line mate, Anson Carter. Anson Carter at this point had a rough few years, struggling at the end of the 2002-2003 season in New York and eventually being traded twice in the 03-04 campaign. It had been a while since Ace was putting pucks in the net consistently. With uncertainty around what he had left in the tank and a newly installed salary cap, Carter, now 31 years old, signed a one-year deal for $1 million. But even with his recent down seasons, make no mistake about it, Anson Carter was by far the most established scorer the Sedins had ever skated with up until this point. While it had been a while, and some may have forgotten, Anson Carter was a hell of a hockey player. Between Boston and Edmonton from 1999 until 2003, Anson Carter skated comfortably in the top six, averaging 19-plus minutes a night and scoring around 23 goals and 50 points, pacing at 28 goals and 60 points over 82 games in that span. Now in Vancouver, Anson Carter had to be hopeful that the Sedins' skill would help rekindle that scoring touch and get his career back on track. And on the flip side, the Sedins needed Carter's confidence and leadership both on and off the ice to finally show what they could do. And that's exactly what happened. To start the season, the trio opened up as the second line and were fairly productive. In the first 16 games, Henrik scored 13 points, Daniel 10, and Carter 7. Nothing crazy, but impressive considering they only played a shade over 14 minutes. Surely in order to take the next step, more ice time in crucial situations was needed. Interestingly enough, back in July during the lockout, that was the very topic the Twins agent J.P. Barry contacted general manager Dave Nonis to discuss. With a sense of urgency at a fragile situation, Dave Nonis and hard-nosed head coach Mark Crawford flew to London to meet their highly touted, yet depreciating assets to discuss an opportunity for more ice time and responsibility. To be clear, the Sedins did not demand it, but wanted an opportunity to earn it. And they also wanted clarification if they were truly a good fit with the franchise before signing back with the Canucks. Ian McIntyre of Sportsnet has a great in-depth article on the meeting that I will link below. We had been struggling for so many years when we didn't seem to be able to take that next step, Henrik explained. We felt like we wanted more responsibility, and we wanted them to know that too, that we felt that we could contribute more. We wanted to show that we wanted to take the next step here, Daniel said. For Mark, who had been with us for so long, I think he needed to hear that. Fast forward to mid-November, slowly but surely the Sedins started to get more ice time. Still having some 14, 15-minute games here and there, but also sprinkling in 18 and 20-minute performances depending on the game situation. But while the off-season meeting with the Canucks management was crucial to ensure the Twins had a path to success, it was Anson Carter during the season that made sure they followed through with it. Daniel Sedin explained in his Hall of Fame inductions.
Anson Carter, you taught us to take ownership of our play. I still remember you dragging us in to watch video of our power play, or things we needed to do better as a line. You want us to be the go-to guys, an attitude I took with me the rest of my career. Don't leave it up to someone else. Take the initiative. Great lessons for us as young players, great lessons for life too.
He also gave them some savvy veteran advice when dealing with their demanding head coach. Thomas Drance of The Athletic quoted this story from Anson Carter. We'd go tic-tac-toe and win and finish. Maybe we hit the post or the crossbar, and Crawford would go, I can't believe you three. Get your heads out of your ass, sharpen up. And then the West Coast Express would go down the ice, miss the net by 50 feet, and it was crickets. So we'd go down the ice again, same exact thing, beautiful passing play, and he'd yell at us again. So I look over at Danny and Hank, and they're sort of cowering, and I would say, fellas, what are you doing? And one of them responded, Ace, this guy is all over us. And I told them, Danny, Hank, this guy isn't yelling at us. He's yelling at the West Coast Express, but he's afraid to yell at those guys, so he's taking it out on us. I told them to trust me, let's just go play our game and we'll be totally fine. Anson Carter brought flair to the combo with his toughness, swagger, and fiery fist pumps. But most importantly, he encouraged the Twins to not deviate from what made them great prospects, their hockey telekinesis, the dominant down-low, give-and-go, puck possession game. Usually reserved for larger players to grind down defensemen, the Sedins' ability to endlessly and seemingly effortlessly cycle and create for each other and constantly find open space, and in this case, create for Anson Carter as well. The 25-year-old Sedins and Anson Carter were now viewed as legit and consistent scoring threats for the first time in their careers, and more importantly, Mark Crawford counted on them. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the subscribe button for more deep dives into some famous and not so famous line combinations in hockey history. Also check out my Instagram page for additional content. At the start of the 2005 season, the Sedin Twins questioned whether they even belonged in the NHL. But by the end of the year, they took the first steps that eventually progressed into Hall of Fame careers. Daniel Sedin went from skating 13 minutes to 16 minutes and 40 seconds and jumped from 54 points to 71, while, and maybe most importantly, showing that newfound confidence firing 204 shots on net, second on the Canucks, up from the previous year's 153. Henrik Sedin increased his ice from 14 minutes to 17 and 75 points, up from the previous year's 42. The 75 points placed the gifted playmaker second on the Canucks behind captain Marcus Naslund, and his 57 assists was the 13th most in the league. While the narrative has been the Sedins made Anson Carter, which clearly isn't the case from his previous production in Boston and Edmonton, an argument can be made that it had a mutually beneficial effect, with Carter having a profound impact on the Sedins' breakout season. He gelled and, more importantly, accentuated what they did best, versus a common alternate scenario of younger linemates trying to adjust to the veteran's game. Ace went on to have a remarkably efficient career-high 33 goals in only 14 minutes of ice time. And even more amazing, he finished with 22 assists along with those 33 goals, which happens to be his line mates' numbers. That's some freaky twin stuff there. I believe the narrative of the Sedins making Carter really came from him leaving the franchise while looking for a raise off of his only season in Vancouver, which, to be honest, he was entitled to. Unfortunately for Carter, he misread the market and left the comfort of proven chemistry with the improving Sedins and signed late with the offensively starved Columbus Blue Jackets, and later traded to Carolina before retiring. Years later, Anson Carter claimed race played a part in Vancouver not offering more money to stay. I'm not sure I'd agree with that statement since they offered him a contract in the first place, and although it wasn't a big raise, they did reportedly try to keep him for another season. I believe Carter over the years has grown bitter about the narrative surrounding his time with the Sedins, and I'm glad they were gracious in their Hall of Fame coverage to mention Carter as a big part of their development, because I believe he was. As far as the Canucks, the master plan to have an elite top six with the West Coast Express finally happened. But in reality, by the end of the 05-06 season, the Sedins started to replace the once dominant line and officially took over the following year, before becoming the Super Twins later with unlikely linemate Alex Burrows. We'll be sure to cover that one in the future. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more Line Combo content.